Hello students, how are you all? So we are back in the last class of friction and force. Okay, in this class we will actually discuss about the advantage and disadvantages of friction and also about the how we can increase or decrease the friction. So one by one I'm coming into that. First of all, what is given over here? That advantages of friction. In this case, first of all, make sure that you know without friction, you can't grab anything. You can't even walk. So actually friction generates due to rough surface. If the surface is more rough, friction will be more. That we have discussed in our last classes. Right now, if the surface is rough, you can walk very easily over there. Why? Because your shoes lower version is also rough and the surface is rough as well. So you can walk very easily over there. But think about very smooth and clean floor where suppose someone sprayed some water over there. So right now that surface is very much slippery to you. In the other sense, if you think that the surface is now with less friction, so as the friction is less, so obviously we can't walk very easily over there. We will slip and fall back. So that is all about the polished surface and rough surface. Always think that more rough means more friction. Acha. Coming to car and buses, how they work. Actually the tire, if you notice the tire, there are so much pattern in the tire. If you notice this one, the tire got a pattern like this. Why? Due to this kind of pattern, the friction with the road will be more. More rough pattern will be provided, more friction will come. And that is the thing. If I told you more rough means more friction. So if the roughness of the tires increased by this all patterns, that means the friction is also increasing. So two part is already covered, that is the walking and also the friction of tires. And also if you notice the brake of any bike or cycle, there is a claw given in that brake. How does it look? This is quite look like this. And as you can see, this is a rough surface which grab the tire if you press the brake, and that means due to friction, the tire gets stopped. That is how we apply the brake to stop by using the property of friction. Okay, so this is all the things, and the most common thing if you holding something in your hand, that is all about due to friction. Because if you notice, so many small tiny pattern is given in your hand, and that is how they actually help you to grab anything in your hand. So that is all about the advantages of friction. Now coming to the increasing of friction. I just told you if we increase the roughness of anything, friction automatically increases. That is all the thing is given over here which I have discussed right now. The tire pattern, if you increase the pattern of tire, obviously the roughness increases, friction also increases. If you notice in sports shoes, the pattern below your shoe is very much designable, very much roughy. So that is why it helps you to run in any kind of surface as the roughness is high. So friction will be help you to run very easily. It will prevent to fall. So that is all given. Even we use gloves to carry some smooth things, and that is also the same thing. We have noticed so many special gloves are there which having so many small and rough patterns which help us to grab anything. Acha. So these all are given ideas how we can increase the friction. Now coming to disadvantages of friction. So due to friction, heat energy increases or heat energy comes. If you notice one thing, when a car actually runs more, then if you touch the tire, don't do it, I'm just saying you, if you touch the tire, it will be more hot. Why? Due to friction, the tire actually burned up. It's not totally burned up, just got the temperature high. That is why it is totally hot. If you notice any bearing of motor, if you might see some motor over there, if you notice any bearing of motor after a full use of that, the bearings will get hot because it is experiencing tremendous friction during its work. Acha. So due to friction, you will say more energy will get lost by heat energy. So that is the fourth thing, I guess, over here. This one. The due to friction, energy get lost as heat energy. Okay. Another one, friction produces wear and tear. Obviously, as the surface is rough, so wear and tear can be happen due to friction, obviously. And finding last, friction produces heat. I just told you right now. So these all are disadvantages of friction. Now coming to how we can reduce the friction. You might notice for bearing like this or for any kind of mechanical thing that is movable, we always put some oil to make it work properly. You might see in the cycle's chain, we provide some mobile or some oil that the chain will work very easily. Why so? Actually, due to putting the oil on there, the surface has become little bit smooth. And as it is smooth, we know friction will be less. So, to reduce the friction, we actually do oiling or lubricating. That is given over here. Acha. Also, ball bearing is a good example to reduce the friction. This is a mechanism where we got two circular bodies where in between that we have some balls. You can see that in the second wheel of our cycles that we use this kind of ball bearing over there to make it rotate. So these ball bearings will actually help you to reduce the friction and increase the working capacity. It actually helps you to reduce the friction and increase the working capacity. Remember that. So we just learned about two things, that is one is ball bearing, second is the most important oiling or lubricating. These two will help you more to reduce the friction. Coming to last two things, that is the polishing and streamlining. Polishing, you know that if you polish something, the roughness will be less, it will be more smooth. And we know that if something is smooth, friction will be less. Always just remember that rough is increase the friction, smooth is decrease the friction. That is the final thing. All the thing is based upon these conditions. Okay. Coming to streamlining, what is that? You might notice or you have listened about the aerodynamic structure. What is aerodynamic structure? That is actually reduce the air drag. If you actually drop something from certain height, if it is a circular, then the air will goes like this. But if it is a flat disc type, then air will make it lift up a little bit more. So if you do it one experiment that you dropping one coin of 1 rupee and another feather, you can notice that 1 rupee coin will be dropped very easily, but feather will float a little bit. Why it is happening? Due to air drag. Air is actually providing you some friction. To minimize this air drag for the air vehicles, that is plane, jet plane, and also for the parachute, actually parachute using this kind of technique to float it more better. But we are talking about air vehicles, that is plane, jet plane, helicopter, and also in racing bike and cars, we use this kind of format as well. So for all these things, we use special kind of design that reduces the friction of fluid or air resistance, and that is called aerodynamic structure. So this thing is most important, streamlining. Remember that. This is a special kind of structure that reduces the friction of fluid. Just write it there. Very simple. You don't have to write too much over here. You just write it's a special kind of aerodynamic structure which reduces the fluid friction. That's it. Nothing else you need over here. Alright, so this is all about the chapter. We finish the chapter. In our next class, we will actually complete the exercise. So till then, thank you for joining and